The Babysitter Killer, also known as the Oakland County Child Killer, is a serial killer who killed at least 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, in Oakland County, Michigan. The murders occurred in 1976 and 1977. The children were held captive for up to 19 days before being killed and then cleaned up and laid out on display in high-trafficked areas, assuring that they would be found quickly. The children died by either asphyxiation or being shot, and the 2 boys were sexually assaulted with an object. The children ranged in age between 10 and 12 years old. The child killer is also suspected in other deaths, including 13-year-old Jane Allen, whose body was discovered 200 miles away in Miamisburg, Ohio. A potential witness gave a description to police and described a blue Gremlin car. A profile of the killer was made, and it was suspected that the killer was a white male aged between 25 and 35, with a dark complexion and shaggy hair. He appeared trustworthy to children and was familiar with the area. Although the case has never been officially solved, there have been no shortage of suspects. One suspect was Ted Lamborghini, who was arrested in Parma Heights, Ohio. Ted, at the time of the killings, lived in the Detroit area and was caught in a 1970s sex ring that targeted young boys. He faced 19 counts of sexual assaults on the children and was told that he would be given a lesser sentence if he took a lie detector test regarding the babysitter killings, but he refused. He remained a main suspect. Another suspect, Arch Sloan, a child molester of boys in the area, failed a polygraph test about the murders. Hair found in Sloan's car, a Pontiac, matched hair found on 2 of the victims. However, the hair did not match Sloan's. This meant the killer had at some point been in Sloan's car. Another suspect, Chris Bush, a convicted pedophile, committed suicide not long after one of the child victims was found dead. While searching his home, a sketch was found that eerily resembled one of the 4 murdered children. Bush had earlier passed a polygraph test. He only got probation for the sex crimes against his victims. But Bush had a friend named Gregory Green, who was also a pedophile. Greg pointed the finger at Bush for killing one of the boys, Mark Stebbins, which just happened to be the victim that was sketched in Bush's home. Greg had also passed a polygraph in regards to his role in the killings, but the perpetrator composite sketch looked like Greg. James Gunnell was declared a suspect when his hair matched with one found on one of the female children. He always maintained his innocence. He is thought to have been a sex victim of Bush's and was used by Bush and Green to lure in children for them and to have done some of their dirty work. He would have been around 15 or 16 at the time of the child murders. Another victim who was brutalized was seen by his mother leaving in a Pontiac that had Green, Bush, and Gunnels in it. In July of 2012, the unidentified hairs found in Sloan's car were traced to an associate of Sloan's. The associate is unnamed. Now, on to my opinion. Well, for one, I just want to kind of clarify why the killer is called the babysitter killer. And it's because it's believed that while in the care of this killer, the children were actually taken pretty good care of. They were fed well, they were bathed and groomed and all that stuff. So that's how the name came about there. Um, Now, the details about the blue gremlin, one of these guys did in fact have a blue gremlin, and I cannot recall which one it was. It may have been Bush. I'm not entirely sure. But I did read somewhere that one of them did have a blue gremlin. I believe the majority of these suspects were involved to some degree. You have Greenbush, Sloan, and Gunnells, all with ties to each other. Then you have Ted, who was involved with a local child sex ring. I believe all of them had a smaller ring going on amongst them. Bush had the money and the means, and I believe was most likely the ringleader. I also believe he may not have committed suicide, but instead was killed by an associate in the ring, because no gunshot residue was found on him or his hands or anything. And there were 4 bullet casings at the scene, and it says that he was tucked nicely and neatly in the sheets. The composite that was created by a witness's description matches that of Greg Green. You've got the description of all of them being in Sloan's Pontiac. I believe these men were tired of being pointed out by their victims, so their solution was to team up and leave nobody alive to point the finger. I believe they passed these children around between them and killed them when they were done, cleaned them up, and then dumped them. I think there were probably a lot more victims and at least 5 or 6 perpetrators, if not more, which I believe is why this case hasn't been solved, because there are so many involved. But I believe they had enough evidence to take out some of these perps, but they let them go. So I think this case probably could have been solved. I think there was some sloppy police work done. But I would like to know your opinion. What person or persons do you think did this? Do you believe they were all involved? Were there more victims? Which I believe definitely. What evidence presented here screams out at you? Let me know in the comments. And as always, like, share, and subscribe so you can be notified of future content. That's it for today. Thanks.